Right, that's my official origin story.
Yeah.
Origin, call that. I had finished this 3-day-long training workshop with my friend Freeman, and as is typical in these training workshop situations, everybody has to fill out this form evaluating the program. And on the back of the form it says, what did you like least about the workshop? What did you like best about the workshop? And Freeman's sitting next to me, and he's looking at the forms, and one by one he turns them over to me, and I take a look. And I see, what did you like best about the workshop? Sandy's stories, somebody wrote, and I didn't think anything of it. I set it aside. He hands me another one. I see, what did you like best about the workshop? The stories that Sandy told. I put it over the side. I'm getting a little puzzled. He hands me another one. I take a look at it. What did you like best about the workshop? Sandy told some interesting stories. I look at him. I say, Freeman, what are they talking about? And he looks at me kind of puzzled. He says, well, don't you remember you told that story about the time when you had to shift gears at the end of a meeting because things weren't going right, and you had this other story about how you knew something was going to go wrong because somebody showed up late and they had a t-shirt and shorts on and they were hungover, and then you had this story about, and he rattled off these different stories, and I realized, yeah, I had told all these stories, and that's how I found out I was a storyteller.
Well, that's a great discovery for storytelling and for you. And did it change the way you did workshops or did teaching or did presentations?
It would be a fair statement to say that I became more aware that I was telling stories, to the extent that one day I auditioned for Telebration, and that was the first public, formal storytelling that I
When you
did.
came out of the storyteller closet, so to speak.
So to speak. Although I'm, to profess the truth here, I should add that when I was a toddler, I suppose, my father would tell me stories, bedtime stories, and he didn't read them out of a book. He told me stories from his life. And he'd tell me the story, and then it was time for me to go to sleep. And I had, as I was laying in bed trying to fall asleep, I would have this image of a grandfatherly figure sitting on a chair, and in his lap he's got this little boy, and he's holding this big book. And the book was the story of me, and he was concluding the story of my day, reading to this little boy, and it was now time to close the book and for me to go to sleep. And I had this idea in my mind every night. I had this kind of image, and I'd say, well, in the morning, I'm going to think of that grandfatherly figure and the little boy, and he's going to open the book, and that's going to be the beginning of the story of my day. I never actually did wake up with that image, but I kept trying. And so in some fashion, I could say I've had this long-term notion that my life is just another story.
That's
My
fascinating.
life is just another story. Well, it is really great. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful story and metaphor. And